you serious?
Yeah. I had no idea.
I don't know shit about music, man. I was
just searching for metal, something metal.
That's actually pretty good.
They came up, so.
Who is it? Icon for Hire. Interesting. I'm still on that Wu-Tang. Alright.
Yeah, see, the only thing I don't know is rap.
I like hip-hop, man. I grew up off hip-hop, like the real hip-hop, though, not like
you could enlighten me on hip-hop, that would be great, because I have shit for hip-hop. I grew up on rock, metal, maybe like I grew up on very little country influence, but...
That's out in Maine, right?
It's WVOB's
That's in Maine, right?
For 990 from
That is...
Thanks for listening to 990 WVOB, the leader in free media in Southern Maine. We hope you enjoy some of our original homegrown podcasts, including our news and entertainment heavyweight, The Wild Side with David Klein, or our Everyman platform hosted by Scott Rotundo, Roland Rotunda. If you're looking for a slightly more provocative spin on current events, listeners, factual evidence, not fear tactics or propaganda.
Right, factual evidence.
For something a little lighter.
None of that bullshit.
Chris Hansen and Bob Giusti look at the world each week from a green perspective. Psycho Sports provides hard-hitting commentary from the writers
that
and
would be fun.
athletes on the field. Enjoy.
I can't get mad at Scott.
Has to offer. Listen live or when you want on our Past page. Tune in and get entertained and informed. 990 WBOB, the leader in free media.
Dude, he's got a very open mind.
He does. He does have an open mind. I'll give him credit for that.
WVOB's Can Drive for 990. From September 1st all the way to November 1, the staff at 990 WVOB has pledged to raise 990 cans, all to benefit the Rhode Island Community Food Bank. Listeners and fans can donate cash online or at participating local businesses who have pledged their support, such as Joe's Barbershop in Warwick, First Place Sports, also in Warwick, Park Wine and Spirits in Cranston, Rhode Island, Prestige Dance and Fitness in North Providence, Rhode Island, and the Shelter Arcade Bar. Check out our food drive page for more places to donate, or donate online, fast, easy, and most importantly, safely at Rhode Each year, the Rhode Island Community Food Bank distributes millions of pounds of food to those in need. WBOB is driving all the way to 990. We want to raise as much food as we can to help those families in our area through their tough time. Donate cans today at a participating location or donate online on our food drive page. WBOB's Drive for 990. Dear Journal, today I went back in time. I went to the Shelter Arcade Bar. I tasted some crafty brews, but that wasn't the best part. Vintage video games in the late 80s, early 90s really made me stay. But the reason I'm going back is the food. I couldn't believe it. The Shelter Arcade Bar has food, and it's delicious. They have everything from specialty pizzas, like the Angry Bird, topped with buffalo chicken, bacon, and banana peppers, to the Italian plumber with tomato sauce, mushrooms, green and red peppers. Oh, my mouth is watering thinking about it. They also have apps, snacks, and all sorts of good stuff. Located in Olneyville at 111 Dyke Street, I know, Dyke Street, in Providence, I will definitely be visiting the Shelter Arcade Bar again.
Sports and More is the store to get all of your autographs and framed sports memorabilia. Looking for a great gift idea? Sports and More has high-quality, affordable autographs and photo spectaculars of all your favorite athletes and stars. Running a charity event, Sports and More has a terrific fundraiser-friendly program to add a dash of class and cash to your next event. Call today at 401-225-3909. That's 401-225-3909. Or follow us on Facebook for all your memorabilia needs. All you need is sports and more.
Peace and civil rights don't mix.
Each week, 990 WBOB presents Demand the Truth with host and political activist Will Turbin. Demand the Truth focuses on specific issues and how they affect you and what you, the average citizen, can do to make an impactful difference. From government cover-ups to local corruption,
generally speaking, the press is inherently dishonest,
providing only factual evidence to his listeners instead of fear tactics or propaganda. Turbin inspires his audience to think and demand the truth. Listen live Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern or listen on demand when you want. Demand the Truth demands your attention and your intellect.
people that are subordinates that carry out what the chief wants.
This is 990WBOB.com, the home of internet entertainment. From Rhode Island to the world, 990WBOB.com. 990WBOB.com is an independent free media outlet. Good evening, and welcome to Demand the Truth. An hour in time designed to educate, expose injustice, and inspire action. Here is your host, Mr. Will Turbin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another special broadcast of Demand the Truth. We are here Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, as we are every single Monday. Will Turbit, T-U-R-B-I-T-T, Twitter at Will_Turbit, and YouTube/Demand the Truth. If you go to my Facebook page right now, you will see an exclusive in-studio interview with Adam Kokesh. Adam just passed this way on his taxation is theft tour. He's going to Exeter, Rhode Island, to another event. He just had one in Providence yesterday. He's the author of the book Freedom. I suggest you go get that. He's got some brilliant ideas in an easy to digest way, and that book is free online and in print. This is going to be another very important show. We have coming up author of Beyond ADHD, Jeff Emmerson, on. He's on Twitter and Facebook at I am Jeff Emmerson, EMMERSON. And we're going to talk to him about how he turned from a suicide attempt to a world-renowned author who literally has over 1 million followers online, and how he took something that from as possibly low as you can go into a success story. We're going to talk about how he's spreading that idea of how we can all do that here. So it's never too late, never give up hope. And we're going to talk to him about ADHD, maybe perhaps what's really going on with ADHD. There's a lot going on. There's a brand new article just 2 days ago from the Washington Post talking about how ADHD may be a sleep disorder. We'll get his take on that. There's some people that believe ADHD doesn't even exist, but we're going to get it from him, from an expert take. He'll be joining us soon. And today is just to briefly, I'm just going to gloss over some of the things that happened today. I usually don't do this. I mean, I will cover news, but I'll cover news that's usually not the drumbeat of the headline. But today I thought it was important to do that, just to showcase some of the good things that we do here at Demand the Truth. And, breaking story, obviously, is Wiener gets 21 months for sexing an underage girl, and there's a lot of evidence that's out there, some evidence online that I've seen that say it's a lot more than just the 15-year-old girl. There were people that were a lot younger, and the fact that he only got 21 months is shameful. But then again, this is just another mainstream example of something that we've been harping on. We've had people from the Sigil Foundation and other places talking about child trafficking and how we can try to take action to prevent that, peaceful action. So that's still going on. We're still having pedophiles leading our government. Don't forget, Anthony Weiner is, obviously very close. And we've done the shows. We've named all the people in the name in the elites, the UK pedophile scandal, the Franklin cover-up, and all of that. But then the other number one story, I guess the number two story, depending on where you look, is, Trump's words have been taken by North Korea as a declaration of war. His rhetoric, his words have been taken as a declaration of war, and that's something that's very serious. Now, I do think that North Korea's military might is greatly over-exaggerated, and they did get it from Bill Clinton when they gave them concessions in his regime there, and I obviously don't condone that. I don't condone any type of militarism, but it is tragic, and I hope that we can find a peaceful resolution to this, because even though there's a lot of people that are against the oppressive nature of the regime in North Korea. I mean, we don't want to hand the military-industrial complex another war, like I've harped on so many times, and just recently on location in New York City at the memorial there from 9/11. We are living through the longest intergenerational war ever in American history, longer than the Civil War, longer than the Vietnam War, longer than everything else. And people don't care anymore. People aren't taking action, and that's what this is about. We need to prevent this from happening. If we are going to do something, we might as well at least sit down and try to talk to North Korea first. Send Dennis Rodman and Michael Jordan over there. Try to do something, because a war is a loss on both sides. You know, I mean, sure, these people are terribly oppressed, but we should at least try another route before we start going militaristic. And I understand we have to defend ourselves. These people are launching missiles, but I do think that the media is also overhyping the might of the North Korean military. But the other story that is perhaps number one, the president, our president, is, and I'm not necessarily a Trump basher. I mean, Trump has done some good things, but right now, when you have people starving to death in America, Chicago has 4,000 shootings a year. Puerto Rico is devastated. Flint still doesn't have great water. The president is talking to Steph Curry in the NFL, and that's just like, that's not the priority right now, especially when these tragic things are happening. But last week, I told you guys, sports was a distraction. We documented it with author Brian Toohey, former sports journalist, who went through the FBI documents and showed you how athletes like Muhammad Ali were throwing fights. This is all documented, and this is used as a distraction from the real things, and that's what's happening now. And I do believe we do have Jeff Emmerson, author of Beyond ADHD, on the line. Jeff, are you there with me, brother?
I am. How's it going?
Very well. Thank you so much for joining. I know you're a very busy man. You've been all over the place. Your book is brand new. The name of that book is Beyond ADHD. You've been on tour promoting that. Again, you can find him on Twitter at I am Jeff Emmerson. Same thing on Facebook. And like I said, this guy went from a suicide attempt to a world-renowned best-selling author, and now he has over 1 million followers on social media. And one of the things that I try to showcase here on my show, Demand the Truth, is that just taking action, a peaceful, positive action in your life, can completely change your whole life and actually have positive implications on the rest of the world. I've showcased how people, you don't have to be a Hitler or a Gandhi or Martin Luther King. People think that they're somehow superhuman to change their life and even make a small positive impact. Anybody can do it. You're a sterling example of that. For people that aren't aware of you, Jeff, why don't you tell everybody out there a little bit about yourself and your story?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me. I hope you can hear me somewhat clearly.
I can hear you very well.
Excellent. Yeah, it's an honor to be here, first of all. So, yeah, thank you again. Long story short, 2008, and then in 2011, at the age of 35, I attempted it myself. There's a whole long story to it, but after that 2011 attempt, I was then subsequently diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, obviously. But then something struck me as, as far as the diagnosis itself, I thought, it seemed at first like, wow, this is a huge weight lifted. I now have, understanding of why so much of my life has been a battle, hundreds of jobs, burning out of university, failed marriage, and way more than that, frankly. But to keep it somewhat concise, 2013, after struggling, being on roughly 9 medications on and off over a few years, I actually committed myself because I was again suicidal. And my wife was with me. We signed the form. And in that, when I committed myself in that mental health unit, that's when a whole new, and I couldn't have expected this, I couldn't have known it. So like you said, taking action. As dark as it was, committing myself, and as a man, right, as a husband, feeling like a total failure, watching my wife cry as I'm signing these papers to commit myself, and be escorted by security to the unit, that turned into a new mission. Again, something I couldn't have known about, and I share on Twitter all the time the fact that for people who are suicidal, that, you'd be surprised some of the DMs I get, some of the messages that just grab me immediately, of course. And I tell people, you don't know what's coming. And as dark as it is, if you just, again, it sounds really simple, and it's not, and I never sugarcoat things, but I let them know they have a foot soldier of support over here, even though they don't know who I am, maybe from Twitter or wherever else, Instagram and so on. But the point is, from that, a whole new mission came along, and that was, and it lit a fire within me in the mental health unit, being in the groups, talking with people. I felt a huge new surge of inspiration to, you know what, as simple as it sounds, motivate, inspire, and support other people, even though I was in that same place, right? We were all together in those groups. So, you know, I debated a few things, like going back to school to get my master of social work or other options, but school didn't work for me. The vision issues that were undiagnosed at the time. But yeah, anyway, enough rambling on me. But yeah, when you refuse to quit, and you go all in, even though you may feel like a failure or like you don't belong or like you have rage inside or whatever it is, massive anxiety, despair, or you've made 1,000 mistakes, and no matter how old you are, I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. You know, when you just brick by brick, as I always say, keep going, and do not give up on yourself. Do not make that permanent decision that my brother did, and I nearly did.
You're absolutely right, Jeff. We're coming up on our first break. Make sure you check out his book on Amazon, Beyond ADHD. Jeff Emmerson, world-renowned authors online for us. And we're going to go on the other side of the break, and we're going to talk about the premise of his book, and then we're going to get into ADHD. We're going to talk a little bit about over-medication. There's people out there with these new Washington Post that are suggesting a different therapy. Author of Beyond ADHD, Jeff Emmerson. I'm Will Turbot. We'll be right back. 990WBOB.com.
Drive for 990. From September 1st all the way to November 1, the staff at 990 WBOB has pledged to raise 990 cans, all to benefit the Rhode Island.
Guys, do me a favor and share this video. This could be important. Jeff is a man that has helped literally save people's lives with his information. He saved his own life, and this is some information that individuals and myself could share and hopefully change someone's life for the better. Like this guy's a sterling example of somebody going from literally the depths of depravity, as low as you can go, to somebody that's an influential figure and that's changing other people's lives. So this could be a powerful thing. If you know somebody that has ADHD or is maybe suicidal or has some depression or anxiety, share this video with them, and hopefully they can find some motivation and inspiration from it and take a positive change and do action. That's what we want to be about here at Demand the Truth. Not just showcasing the negative, but also finding solutions, because it's one thing just to point out the problems, but we at least try to provide some solutions and outlets for other people. So please help me out, share. If you guys are watching this on Facebook, turn down the volume, listen to the live broadcast on 990WBOB.com to help the station. And again, I appreciate the support, guys. Thank you.
Follow Dan online at truthradio.angelfire.com for past episodes and videos. Listen live each week to this station for all new episodes, and check out the past cast for an on-demand information. Where there is injustice, there is the truth warrior, Dan Badani. Controversial and unconventional, Badani digs to the bottom of every story. Listen to Dan Badani live right here each week.
Tune in live Wednesday, September 27th, as WBOB continues its 10-year celebration with an all-new, all-spectacular lineup of broadcasting. Beginning at 7 p.m. with an all-new special Psycho Sports. At 7:30, the franchise with Joe Farrell returns live for a special beer and music spectacular. Tune in for the complete lineup and details Wednesday, September 27th, right here on 990WBOB.com, celebrating 10 years of free media.
The game might be over, but that doesn't mean the conversation is. Join Tyler Silk and Brian Fox as they exchange words, statistics, and fists on everything sports. For your Pats, Celts, and Sox updates, discussion on the latest news covering the sporting world, interviews with prominent national sports writers. Be sure to tune in to Psycho Sports, only on Rhode Island's independent home of the Renegade Radio. 990WBOB.com.
You're listening to 990WBOB.com, Renegade Radio.
All right, welcome back from break. 990WBOB.com. I'm your host, Will Turbot, here on Demand the Truth. We want to get to the bottom of things with documented factual evidence and then take the injustice and the negative stuff and the depravity and turn that into a positive. And that's why we're talking with author of Beyond ADHD, Jeff Emmerson here. He was telling us our story before the break. Now I want to have us tell us about the premise of this book, his new book. Not too much because I want everybody to go out and check it out. But it's definitely not your cut and dry theory and idea of ADHD. Why don't you give people an overview and what the thrust of the book is, please, Jeff?
Yeah, you got it, Will. Basically what I do here is I take my story, my diagnosing journey, and several experts from fields like nutrition, cardiology, education, of course, psychiatry, psychology, and others, social work, trauma experts, PTSD, that sort of thing. They all join, and we put ADHD as we know it under a microscope. As far as the over-diagnosing, definitely addressing the medication as well. We talk a lot about pharma, big pharma here. And I try to keep it balanced. It's not like black and white. One way is right, one is wrong. Definitely open-minded here because, it's case by case, but I dig a lot deeper. And I guess to encapsulate, someone just replied on Twitter, I think it was yesterday, and said something to the effect of, Jeff, just read your book. It was an eye-opener. So as simple as that sounds, that's exactly what I was after, with some inspiration thrown in definitely. So yeah, we take a deeper look from several angles at this whole puzzle. What are these symptoms exploding for in society? What's going on? What roles do institutions like pharmaceutical companies play? Schools, the education system for different learners, nutrition. So many things, concussions, vision issues. We go way deeper, trauma in childhood. So that's a bit of a teaser for you, I guess.
No, yeah, well, I appreciate that. I'm sure there's some people out there listening that don't know exactly what ADHD is and how somebody's diagnosed with that. So can you break that down for us?
Yeah, sure. It's attention deficit hyperactivity or hyperactive disorder. Under that ADHD umbrella is ADD. It's just essentially a variation. So it's obviously without the without the hyperactive component, but more what we know as inattentive or just distracted, but not what you might think of as a stereotypical boy going nuts running around the classroom, or someone who can't sit differently, for instance, a lot of girls. So that's a huge aspect. But yeah, there are also, I have to say too really quick, that there can be a combination of both. It's not usually just one or the other. And things like anxiety, depression, sometimes mood disorders, and other things can, even autism, learning disabilities, other things can coexist. So it's really murky water and hard to diagnose. And that's where, don't get me started, I'll stop there. So that's where I'm real passionate. Yeah, no, this is kind of like a twofold question, and take the floor for a bit, but, what does it take? What are the criteria for someone to be diagnosed? And two, then branch off and talk a little bit about your misdiagnosis a little bit, because I think that's also important to share. Sure. And first, let me say that I support everyone, aside from, really putting it under a microscope, and I support everyone across the board. Beyond this book, frankly, I'm going to be writing about a lot of positive, everything's empowerment based. Sounds like, your station as well is all about cutting to the truth, but empowering, in a positive way, because that's the whole point. So yeah, as far as diagnosing, at least in North America, with the DSM-5, it's called, which is the statistical manual that they use to diagnose currently, at least where I'm in, near Toronto, Canada, and throughout the U.S. as well. If you've got, even in 15 minutes or less, you can literally be diagnosed with ADHD and sent home with a prescription. And not that everyone is, thank God, but I've heard a lot of horror stories about how quickly and I don't just blame anyone such as physicians or others. It's a big picture thing here, and we have to go on and really explain it to do it justice. But for the sake of time here, respecting your time, physicians are pressured, insurance companies, there's a whole bigger picture here. We want a quick fix in this culture. Parents their hands are tied. They don't know what to do. I just finished doing a weekend of book signings, and the parents and teachers that I spoke to they're like pulling their hair out, trying to figure out what is this, what's going on, how do we deal with it. So anyway, if you've got 6 of the 9 symptoms on a checklist through the DSM criteria, you can literally be diagnosed by a single person. Even a GP these days, can dole out medication because there's a major shortage, I know, also in the U.S. as well as Canada, of psychiatrists. But yeah, I'll stop there. I can continue on as to what I'd like to see, if you'd like. But I'll throw it back to you.
Well, no, I appreciate that. I would like to hear what you'd like to see, but I can't allow you to say we won't get into the bigger picture for lack of brevity. But no, I want to know. Those are questions that were a little lower down, and you mentioned them too, Big Pharma and Key Bono. You talk about who benefits too. So I'm sure it's that. But like you say, it's not all black and white. It's not like there's this all hierarchical evil thing that's all the time. They're good people. They're physicians that are just trying to do their job. So I wanted to ask you about the influence of that. What, in your take, is the bigger picture? And then also, what do you think about the influence of on the APA from its beginnings to inception till right now? On its website talks about its founding from the Rockefeller Foundation and the Ford Foundation, who they themselves haven't had a great history or a track record overall. So what's your take on the big picture involving all that?
Well, as far as I know, from my awareness of all this, okay. First of all, to address, there are a lot of amazing physicians, psychiatrists, psychologists, GPs, of course. They get into the field because they want to make a difference. And I have some of them in the book, like Dr. Jeff Hirschfeld in Florida, for instance, and a vision expert as well, Dr. Patrick Quaid, an ophthalmologist, who helped me discover my misdiagnosis. But you know what, as far as I don't know a whole lot, admittedly, as far as APA-wise. I mean, I know I've read a ton of stuff, but where I've really been dealing is with one of the founders, one of the fathers of ADHD, Dr. Keith Connors, who recently passed away at the age, I believe, of 84. He and the chair of the current one, Dr. Alan Francis, who gave a heck of a testimonial about this book, and it's actually on the back cover. And I won't read it now, again, for sake of time. But the issue is that ADHD is truly, from what they feel, and the father, Dr. Keith Connors, of ADHD, or one of the founding fathers, if you will, was that only around 3%, maybe 4% of people actually have it. But then Dr. Connors, later on in life, and Dr. Alan Francis, who I was talking about, they were both close friends. And Dr. Francis reached out, and this is very telling, about a month ago, and said, you know what, Keith just passed away. And please, his wife wants the message, because, Jeff, you have a large audience, and I guess I'm just starting, frankly, on a mission to go way bigger, but brick by brick. But he said, can you share with your audience the massive importance of the fact that Dr. Connors said later in life that, you know what, I regret that ADHD has exploded and now is being thrown around way too easily because of, and again, from a big picture, mindset, nutrition, pressured physicians, the DSM checklists. There's a lack, you know what there is, Will? There's a lack of what I call, and what I'd like to see, collaborative interdisciplinary assessment.
I think that's very important. I want you to expand upon that on the other side of the break. We're coming up on a quick break now. We have the longest segment after this with author of Beyond ADHD, Jeff Emmerson. Go buy that book right now on Amazon. Right now on the break, we'll be back here on 990WBOB.com with our longest segment, Demand the Truth. I'm your host, Will Turbit. We will be right back.
D'Amico and Birchfield, is dedicated to providing you practical advice, legal counsel, and zealous representation on your legal problem and the various ways it may impact your life. Choose a law firm where clients come first. When it comes to protecting your legal rights and your reputation, choose D'Amico and Birchfield. Not your typical law firm.
I know when I was in school, like about the time I was in middle
Tune in live Wednesday, September 27th, as WBOB continues its 10-year celebration with an all-new, all-spectacular lineup of broadcasting. Beginning at 7 p.m. with a new special Cycle Sports. At 7:30, the franchise with Joe Farrell returns live for a special beer and music spectacular. Tune in for the complete lineup right here at 990WBOB.com. Celebrating 10 years of free.
Random medication addicts. So I'm wondering,
You, Joe Rhode Island, looking for a night out? Look no further. Shelter Arcade Boat in Olean. That's right, Olean. 111 Drake Street. You can go down there, sip on some craft brews while taking a step back in time.
I know they've done more research, but according to him and the research I've done for the show, I mean, he's not a conspiracy theorist by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, he is, and he talks about how it's still over medicating, and sometimes they don't do a good enough diagnosis. But he still believes ADHD is real; it's a real thing, and people do suffer the problem. But he just thinks it's been a lot of people are misdiagnosed, overdiagnosed, and over medicated. He wants, and that's actually he even opened my mind. I didn't think he was as open-minded as he is, talking about how diet and how media and all these other things influence that. So it's interesting. I'm gonna ask him. I got some cool questions to ask him. I got this guy a bunch of. And that's what I was. One of the questions I'm gonna ask. That's one of the next questions I want to ask. When is it too early to diagnose? How do you know? What's the difference between a kid being rambunctious and a kid like having a disease, a mental disease? You know.
Fitness in North Providence, Rhode Island, and the Shelter Arcade. Check out our food drive page for more places to donate, or donate online, fast, easy, and most importantly, safe.
I hope so.
Rhode Island Community Food Bank.org. Each year, the Rhode Island Community Food Bank distributes millions of pounds of food to those in need. WBOB is driving all the way to 990. We want to raise as much food as we can to help those families in our area through their tough time. Donate cans today at a participating location or donate online on our food drive page. WBOB's Drive for 990.
990WBOB.com.
All right, we are back here live, Demand the Truth, 990WBOB.com, with author of the brand new book, Beyond ADHD. Right before the break, I was picking Jeff's head about the bigger picture and what he thought played into it, and I'd have to agree about what he thought contributed. It's a number of factors, societal and otherwise, and thought that was very interesting, but he got cut off when he was about to say what he'd like to see happen. So now we have the longest segment here, and this guy's a very influential person. So let's share this on Twitter, Facebook, and the like, so we can get the information, because we do not just expose injustice and corruption and the wrong things going on in the world, but provide solutions. And now this is a very viable solution, if I can predict what Jeff's going to say. But Jeff, please expand upon what you're going to say and what you'd like to see happen, because hopefully if we get enough people to listen to this, it will happen.
Well, that's the hope. Thank you, Will. Clearly, we're in alignment here. Yeah, as far as assessment, and I, you know what? First of all, it's an ocean. There are a lot of different opinions. There are a lot of different thoughts, different perspectives, and I get it. What I don't have, right off the bat, what I don't have is the perfect answer. But what I do have are things. I do have a lot of information of what we need to dig deeper in. So, really, Beyond ADHD, really quick, I think is. Though it's written for parents, it's written for teachers, it's written for, all sorts of folks from various walks of life. It's also written, frankly, for policymakers and for those who have the ability to influence evolution, if you will, in holistic healthcare and, education and other institutions in society. So, with that said, what I'd like to see, and this is, again, from lived experience, and that's why I wish there would have been a book like this out sooner. Frankly, and I got a quick. Were you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay, that was just my line. Pardon me. A quick caveat, if you will, is that a lot of publishers, they turned down the idea when my agent proposed the book because they wanted yet another sort of cookie cutter approach from a single psychiatrist. I didn't have, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I built the audience. I built, the following, and people came out of the woodwork from neuroscience to psychiatry. So the point is, I took a different route. So anyone out there who's struggling, I flunked out of university. I flunked out of, I'm lucky I even passed grade 3. The ophthalmologist, the vision expert, said about a year and a half ago. So when I was just diagnosed with what's called convergence insufficiency of vision issue. So I'm surprised I even made it this far. But we keep going. It's not about a woe is me or like victim mentality. No, we got to step up and do what we got to do. Find mentors. And anyway, I'm getting off track. So the point is, I want to see collaborative, as I said, interdisciplinary care and assessing. So what that means is, first of all, we're going to need to invest. It's going to take time, right? And no one wants to hear that. Parents don't want to hear that. I get it. Why not put Jimmy or somebody on a quick, or Sally, on medication really quick if it quiets them down and calms them down. There is a horror story, one to be very aware of in this book about what's a boy who is referred to as the Lego boy, and it's right at the beginning of the book, and it's a cautionary tale. It's not to scare everyone completely because medication has its place. I'll be the first to say that, but we need people from things like vision therapy, social workers, experts in trauma, psychologists, of course, psychiatry as well, but other areas, nutrition. What about screen time when a child is left for, 8-10 hours a day on screens and, instant gratification and stuff. And I know that's the way the world's going. Yes, we have to accept it, but we also have to understand the implications of instant gratification and not getting outside, not exercising, not having lunch and recess time, free time to just play in schools. Also schools, education systems that try to fit everyone into a box and just teach for a test. I could just go on and on. It sounds like I'm on a soapbox, but it's the truth. A lot of the brightest minds, a lot of the most creative, different, quirky folks, might, get a wrong label like they have a disability. And yeah, we all have strengths and weaknesses. But I'm huge into what's called a growth mindset, and that means that when I was younger, I was in jail briefly, but I had terrible credit. I flunked out of all sorts of things. I felt horrible about myself. I had a record, and I was on a mission to straighten everything out. So I know I'm throwing that in there. So anyone who's struggling, no matter how rough it is, find mentors. Be careful who you associate with, all that stuff, but with interdisciplinary collaborative assessment, parents need to not just frankly go to a psychiatrist or not just a GP, or there has to be a new paradigm. I call it, to use a fancy word. We need to have teams of people that go into the home, that check out the child's nutrition, or an adult for that matter. Adults too are being diagnosed all over the place, right? So we need to have teams that go in and assess and check different aspects, different environments. Like they say, a child, if they're only having trouble in school, don't just diagnose them and give them medication just to boost the grades. That's dangerous, frankly. You can affect.
That's just masking the problem. You're not doing anything. You're just masking the problem, putting it off. And you're saying you feel like you're on a soapbox. Yeah, you are on a soapbox for the truth. That's what this show is. And you led into my next question. I also wanted to talk about convergence insufficiency with you afterwards. But talking about growth mindset, talk a little bit about growth mindset and also what an ordinary person can do right now. Maybe I'm sure there's tons of people listening to this right now. We have listeners worldwide, and I'm sure not every one of them thinks that their life is 100% amazingly awesome right now. So talk a little bit about growth mindset and what advice you would have for the average person to start to make that change for the positive in their life.
Yeah, I love that, and thank you for saying that, because you know what? My life isn't great either at times, and I battle anxiety still. I battle a lot of stuff, and but I'm sure, there are people in places that I was in, better, worse. It's all relative, right? So don't compare yourself to anyone. Don't ever feel like I got to say that. Why would anyone care about me? Like if someone out there wants to write a book, for example, if I can throw this in, I remember someone saying, why would anyone want to read your book? You didn't come from the, South Central LA, and you weren't addicted to drugs, and your mom wasn't a whatever, but we all feel pain differently. It's all relative. So that means my brother's suicide was just are you kidding? So that means that I didn't feel just as heavily about things and wasn't just as pissed off and enraged, growing up with certain things. Don't compare, just support everyone, right? So I would say no matter what you're going through, there's a quote that says that life doesn't get easier, you get to know yourself better. And again, I'm a big proponent of, I don't know if you know Gary Vaynerchuk and some of the other people who out there who are really positive driven folks and, hard workers and all that stuff. But I came from, again, the jail cell. I came from making mistakes and really being shamed and my, early on stuff. My mom chasing me with a baseball bat and my sister getting the crap beat out of her at home and sadistic behavior and other things. And yeah, I had rage. I say in the book, I literally wanted to kill my mom for quite a while. And thank God I didn't, because I got into steroid use, was over 250 pounds at one point, hardcore rage. So I know about it, and depression and anxiety and all that stuff and self-loathing. Okay. So, through all that, you've got to cling to whatever it is for you. There's no one approach. I'll be the first to say, but you've got to do it in your way. And just remember that no matter where you're at, growth mindset you mentioned, that's, if people Google that, look it up, it's simply starting, and it's not a simple thing, but it's the attitude. Every day, what do I focus on? Even if I'm in hell, okay, what are 3 things I can work on today? Or do I need to reach out and get help? Maybe it's at that point for some folks where I say, get yourself the hell into the hospital if you have to. I don't mean to swear, but get in there, as scary as it is. Or if you've been in there 20 times, keep going. You have to honor yourself. Don't make a permanent decision that's going to kill a part of everyone around you. My brother's death still haunts me. And yeah, if you could look in my eyes, everyone, you would know the pain. It's just not worth that decision. And if I would have taken my life that day, thank God I went upstairs and said, to my wife, hon, get me to the emergency room. And it wasn't nearly that pretty. That's not exactly what I said. And she rushed me there. As dark as everything is, I couldn't have known where I'd be now. And again, I'm just getting started, but I still face major anxiety over doing public talks, going across North America, doing book signings, all that stuff. So it's not like, Jeff, you've made it, you're free. No, it's always a challenge, but you are not alone in this stuff. If you see my Twitter feed, it's just fire with passion and all sorts of stuff, but it's because I've seen hell in my own way, and I know we all have a different story, and I know everyone's got one. But yeah, I know I've spewed a lot there, but the point is you're not alone, and someone's standing up who cares. If you've got, mental health issues, whatever it is, you're struggling, you're dealing with a criminal record or terrible credit or whatever, you feel unemployable, or school, you're no good at school like I was, whatever the case, there is always another way. And the great thing is, and I'll finish with this, the great thing is if people have access to the internet like this, you've got access. Ask me, reach out to me, ask me on Twitter, ask me on wherever, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn even, wherever. Ask. You can email me through my website. Ask, Jeff, what are some tools? Let me know what you're dealing with, anxiety, depression. Are you worried about your next meal like I was? I used to steal to eat at one point, and that beat me up for a long time. I was so ashamed of it, and a lot more. But you've got to keep going. I know that's cliche. I know that's not pretty. It doesn't sound easy, but you have to keep going, and you got to find mentors, find people that inspire you, find anything. And it's, again, I wish I had a perfect, easy, quick fix answer, but I don't. But the bottom line is, if you don't keep going, and if you don't keep searching with whatever spark is left inside you, you're guaranteed to fail. It's self-sabotage. And I got fed up with that crap. I got fed up with the negativity. I got fed up with feeling like crap, right? So why would I, enough. I know I'm really passionate here, but enough. Like, when do people realize, hey, snap the hell out of it? You know, I deserve better, I want better, and I'm gonna become a beast for this in my own way. That's my own wording, right? So whatever it takes to find that fire within, even though it was barely a spark when I nearly hung myself, something was there and I couldn't go through with it. And I just kept pushing, and now here I am. And I aim to, in any way I can, to reach millions brick by brick. So, you know, that's it, straight. I hope that provided some value.
No, that was very motivational, and that's what people need to do, is make that decision. Realize when something bad happens in your life, even if it's something really, really, really bad, yeah, you mean, like he said, there's no easy answer. You're not going to fix it easily. It's going to suck for a while. It's going to suck, but you have to keep moving, and you have to keep going forward, and you always have to look at the bright side of things, too, because you have to realize no matter how deep and dark it gets, there's always somebody out there that has it worse than you. There's people that don't have homes. Half the world lives off $2 a day. There are people in India that are just living in the same places in their rickshaws. They're living in that, in the rain, in the heat, and all that. So things could always be worse. You have to focus on the good and keep going. We're coming up on the final break here. After the break, we're going to get into my few rapid fire questions for Jeff Emmerson. Again, he's the author of Beyond ADHD. That is available live right now on Amazon. Check him out. I am Jeff Emmerson on Facebook and Twitter. Check out his website, jeffemerson.com. Check me out, Facebook, Will Turbit, Turbit, at Will_Turbit on Twitter, YouTube/Demand the Truth, and we'll be right back here at 990WBOB.com with the final segment of Demand the Truth and author Jeff Emmerson.
Journalist has been on a relentless pursuit of the truth. Dan Badani has made national headlines with tenacious spirit and never say
what
attitude. Each week, Badani hosts his own live podcast. And
I don't. Yeah, he's like slamming his hand. I think he was pounding or the desk. I've seen his YouTube videos, and he's very animated and passionate, and like the camera's moving all over the place. Even if he's sitting in a chair, the camera's like moving over here. He grabs his dog. He's very. That's what I like about him, is he's passionate. I honestly didn't think he was just good. I thought he was going to be like a little more mainstream and be like, meh. But no, he's pretty good. He's actually a lot better than I thought. So. Yeah, he's like lighting a torch and like ready to storm the APA. Forget this! I'm storming Congress.
At 7:30,
yep.
Franchise with Joe Farrell returns live with special beer and music spectacular.
Oh man!
For the complete lineup and details, Wednesday, September 27th, right here on 990WBOB.com, celebrating 10 years of free media.
10 years, WBOB. Share the problems with mental health. Let them know the truth about it. You don't always have to be overly medicated. Don't take the first advice of that one person. Get another piece of advice. Reach out to Jeff on Twitter, Facebook. See what he has to say. But try to be happy. Eat more plants. Have more vegetables and fruit in your life. Go outside. Get some sunlight. Have some exercise. Have some structure to your life. Have some format. Even if you're not working right now, make yourself a little structure. I'm going to wake up at this time, even if it's not super early. I'm going to work out for a little bit. Maybe I'll do a run, and I'll make myself some lunch. Maybe I'll do whatever it is that you do. Everyone, like Jeff was saying, has talents and they have weaknesses. So you want to maximize your talents, work towards those, and everyone has things about them that they can do. One or two things that they're really good at. So focus on those and try to minimize those negatives and focus on the good things, man. Shit could always be a lot worse. I remember in 2002, the first time I got kidney stones, I was holding my piss for like 15, 16 hours at a time because it hurt so much, and I pissed blood everywhere, and I had a stent in my urinary tract because it was so big they couldn't get it out, and I was just sitting there miserable. And now I hate John McCain politically. I think he's a total tool, but I watched a documentary about John McCain and how he was in the Vietnam War and how his plane was shot down over enemy lines and how it crashed into the water and how he was messed up and abused and dragged through town and tortured in solitary confinement for every single day for 7 years. So shit could always be a lot worse. So spread this, help some people that you know with mental health get a fight back. All right, we are here live, 990WBOB.com. I'm your host of Demand the Truth, Will Turbot. Final segment here with author of Beyond ADHD, Jeff Emmerson. Like I said earlier, check out his book on Amazon. Find him on Twitter at I am Jeff Emmerson. Same thing on Facebook, JeffEmmerson.com. And this guy has been telling us about, he's just an ordinary guy. He's not Superman. He's not Gandhi. He's not Wu-Tang. He's just a regular guy. He's had troubles just like anybody else. He's seen some very terrible things. And now he's took that negative, turned it to a positive. He's a world-renowned author with over 1 million followers on social media. And like he was saying, maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you're not an author. Maybe you're a musician. Maybe you're a meme maker. Maybe you grow plants. Maybe you raise children. Everybody has one or two great talents about them, and we need to emphasize those and work towards those. So before the break, we were talking a little bit about growth mindset and setting goals for yourself and having a positive frame of mind, focusing on the positive. I wanted to ask him what, Jeff, your thoughts of the so-called talking about having a positive frame of mind and how your thought patterns can really change you. Even quantum physics now has talked about how just changing the thought process of your mind can literally change your life. So what are some things that people can do that are even in a very big state of despair right now? What can they do to start focusing on some of the better things?
You know what? I'd say it depends on the person, as you know, Will, but for me, I'm just going to go straight from the heart on myself. And then as I say with everything I ever come out with, videos, anything else, take what resonates, folks, and toss the rest. I'm not offended remotely, obviously, because I know how it is. I had my mentors growing up and people I'd listened to. So, you know what? It's one of those things. While you were speaking there, I had an aha moment where I've got to say this. Another thing, while you're doing this, no matter what you're going through out there, folks, remember to also take time. And this is, man, I should talk. I'm constantly reminding myself of this. Always take time to remember to be gentle on yourself. What does that mean? Well, when I lived in a city called Calgary, Canada, a couple of years back, I was in a therapy session, and I was introduced to what's called compassion-focused therapy. And I don't know if anyone else out there is going to get this, but I've always been very driven, very like boom, like a machine, very driven, but too much, almost obsessed with things at times. And I would burn out. I'd hit a brick wall. I was, going 1,000 miles an hour to goal, only to quickly get bored with it, or once I realized the work it might take, lose interest, not be committed for whatever reason. So the thing is, from all that, from hindsight, I realized, you know what? I was on blood pressure medication, until recently when I lost like 40 pounds and got into the best shape of my life. Totally med-free now. I'm thriving. But it's not like, ooh, look at me. It's like you can do, again, any of this stuff is going to be a process. So as I learned, there are always going to be mistakes. There are always going to be learning lessons, as I prefer to call them. It's not about, someday when I get there, I can suddenly be happy, which I threw away about 10 years of my life being that way. I wasn't in the moment with friends, my family. And I regret that. But then again, I've forgiven myself for that. So as you go through this and as you work on things like, and I would Google this, positive self-talk, that is huge. That's one huge component. Growth mindset, again, Will, that's another one, as Will alluded to. You can start from hell. You can find, and this was another key thing that just came to me, the worst moments gave me my biggest mission in life. Gave me total new purpose that I couldn't have known. When I was signing those forms to commit myself, and I felt an inch tall as a husband. I felt like a complete failure. I thought, I had rage toward myself. They say depression is anger turned inward. I've heard it said that way. And man, did I have the anger. No shortage of it. So the thing is, from the worst moments, if you take just a split second and think of it from a different angle, and start breathing deep. Just go for a walk. Just say, screw this. I got to go for a walk. If the food isn't on the table, whatever. If I lose my job, whatever. I'm doing myself no good just spiral thinking, like wallowing in it right now. I've got to change something. I have to change something or nothing will change around me. Whether it's, the friend that I had to let go of because he was addicted to drugs, and he was my best friend growing up and I loved him to death, but he was putting me directly in harm's way by asking me to go and drive him to get drugs. And this was like 2 years ago. And I had to end that relationship, and it was incredibly hard. But I had to stand up for myself. Stand up for yourself, but also with fierce patience. You've got to deploy fierce levels of patience, self-care, and also, of course, being driven. If you don't know what you want to do in life, you got to try different things. You got to take risks. You got to get out there. Again, there isn't a pretty, perfect, cookie-cutter approach. And popping a pill sure as hell won't work. But, when I say that, obviously that's a loaded thing. Some people need medication. I'm not referring to that. I'm saying escapism and stuff. For me, it's the gym, whatever works, as long as you take care of your health as best you can. But everything's between your ears. I'm telling you, maybe you weren't brought up in a positive environment. Maybe there's a lot of rage. Maybe you feel like crap about yourself, whatever else. You can completely change it, but it takes, again, I'll say it a million times, brick by brick. Allow yourself, mistakes happen. We learn from them. And again, the worst moments, folks, my brother's death, seeing him taken away in a body bag. Once the dust settled, in hindsight, I had to get through that. And I had to get through being suicidal so that once that dust settled, I was able to look at things from a new way, like a brand new puppy, just learning new things, right? And it all starts there. I don't know how that sounds to y'all, but that's the truth. So, there's always hope. I know this is really general, so that's again why I encourage people to reach out to me for more specifics, because obviously I don't know what each person's going through. But there's always a formula. I promise there's always a formula, even if someone's terminally ill. There's a huge formula for changing their lives. If I was terminally ill tomorrow and I found out, I would be more grateful than ever because of how I decide to focus on it. And I can get into more detail when I talk to people, but I'm telling you, there's nothing in this world, as long as you're alive and breathing, obviously, there's nothing that you can't change, but it takes changing daily habits, daily focus, and doing it when you're exhausted, doing it when you feel like crap, doing it when things aren't going well, and gradually they will get better. But it takes that faith. And again, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It took one hell of a lot of faith, and support as well is huge. It can be someone online. If you've got no friends, if you have no one around you, and you feel lost or you're homeless or anything else, whoever it is, find someone, even if it's online or if it's at a homeless shelter, someone positive. There's always the formula, even if you're suicidal and you're exhausted like I was, 9 medications. I'm like, how the hell am I ever going to figure this out? Am I going to die? Is this going to go terrible like my brother? But thank God I didn't. So now the fire, I'm telling you folks, you can probably hear it. And thank you again, Will, for having me. You're phenomenal at this.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Jeff. Also, before I let you go, make sure you check out Beyond ADHD. We're running up on the end of the show. That was very powerful, motivational information. Please spread this information so we can help as many people as we can. One quick question. We're running up on about 30 seconds left on the show. I know you talked about in one of your videos, you're disillusioned with most politicians. Ron Paul, thumbs up or thumbs down?
You know what? I don't know enough.
Okay, I'll let you reserve judgment for the next time on the show. I didn't get to about 2/3 of my questions, so we're going to have you back up to promote the book even more. Author of Beyond ADHD, Jeff Emmerson, thank you so much. I'm your host, Will Turbot. We will be back live with another special guest in studio next Monday at 7 p.m. Check out the past cast. Spread this information. This is life-saving, powerful, inspirational, motivational information. The solution's right here at Demand the Truth. We will see you next Monday and online all the time. Thank you guys very much for supporting and sharing this. You the best.
The preceding program contained views, opinions, and thoughts that do not necessarily represent those of 990 WBOB, its management, or its staff. So now you know.